Yes, guys, welcome to episode 3 of the Football for Thought podcast. My name is Senal and I'm your host. And as always, I'm with my co-host Lahiru. Today, we're going to dive into a bit of a tactical analysis and also look towards the end of this second international break and see how the fixtures might play out, and going a bit deeper into statistics such as XG and how Arsenal have changed their style of play from the start of this season. Lahiru, how are you feeling going into the end of this second international break?
Yeah, it's been a good international break now compared to the last one, because last one started when we lost to Liverpool, and this time, we are on top of the table, got a few good results against some good teams. The running doesn't seem, I don't want to say difficult, but it's much better than the running we had before this international break. I think overall we have quite a few reasons to be kind of positive about the direction in which the team is headed.
Something about the result at Newcastle and the way we dominated Olympiacos and West Ham, and how we've actually used the squad with a couple of halftime substitutions and even a few changes before the 60th minute shows a lot of evolution. Thanks to the signing of Gyökeres, we have started playing more direct, more vertical, and a lot faster, which is, for me as a fan, a lot more enjoyable. The last 7 games, Gyökeres hasn't been able to score, and he's getting into some decent positions, but hopefully it's all down to fitness, because Havertz has been out and Gyökeres has been playing every game and almost 90 minutes as well. So I think even you pointed out that towards the end of the West Ham game, you could see Gyökeres was kind of fading away, definitely due to fitness issues. What are your thoughts on that?
What his performance right now is a good example of acclimatizing to the Premier League, the intensity of the Premier League. He's from the Portuguese league. The levels are very different in the Premier League, and he has been asked to play as a striker for a title contending team. And with the fact that we have some of our creative players in and out of the team, like Odegaard, not be able to keep his fitness for longer than a few weeks. Eze was just brought in. And Merino has also played, which has kind of impacted how we go about the way we play. So Gyökeres has not had the easiest start to Arsenal, but he has three goals. He very well could have had 5 goals if the Newcastle penalty was given, and if Saka didn't take the penalty against West Ham. The thing I would say about Gyökeres is that when we found out that we were going to sign him, this is what I more or less expected. A very low-touch striker who has his moments in games, and it all comes down to whether he can take those chances. And he's a very direct striker. He's not the striker who will get involved with your build-up, like someone like Havertz or someone like Sesko. Not the way Sesko is used in United, but the way Sesko would have been used in Arsenal. So he's like your Haaland. Haaland is a different beast altogether, but still, Haaland is, if you look at Haaland's statistics, he doesn't have many touches in the game, but the chances he gets, the movements he gets involved in, he's lethal and efficient enough to finish them. Gyökeres still has to get to that point, but I think the more he plays, the more he gets used to how we play, and I think sooner Odegaard can keep his fitness, I think we'll start to see the best of Gyökeres, because I think Olympiacos game is probably the best example of how we can use Gyökeres to the best of his abilities, because there were so many through balls, there was so much running power there when he just keeps running at the opposition defense, and that's where we will see the best of him. And I think when Havertz comes back, we will have 2 very good forward options who play very distinct styles of play. So that will be very useful, I think, for us going forward.
Yeah, that's true. And speaking of the Olympiacos game, you said Gyökeres could have scored 5. It would have been 6 actually, because he bullied 2 defenders, got the shot off and hit the post, and Martinelli fortunately was there to finish it off. So I think we're a bit spoilt by seeing how Ekitike and especially Sesko played against Sunderland. Even though it was Sunderland, those flicks and link-up play and the comfort he shows on the ball, like we see that and we naturally tend to compare with Gyökeres, which obviously is a bit unfair because we always should remember the price tag. It was 63 million pounds with add-ons. So, it's a very risk-free signing, I would say, even if it doesn't work out. But now we are going into a run where we are facing a lot of bottom half or mid-table teams where Gyökeres could shine. And, any striker would struggle against Liverpool, Man City, and Newcastle. And those were 3 out of the 6 games we played. So, I think there's still quite a bit of hope and a fair bit of expectation to be had. And what we know about the player is his mentality, his work rate. Even if he doesn't get a goal, I know it's not what the fans want to see, but the manager is enjoying what he's doing. So Saka is not doubled up anymore. He is finding even more freedom, and even he has found a lot of dangerous positions in the box. And I want to touch on the fact that you brought up Havertz, because we are looking like a fantastic squad even going forward. Because right now we have Madueke, Havertz, and Jesus to come back. And already we have Saka, Gyökeres, Martinelli, Trossard, Dauman, Waneri. So we currently have 8 defenders who can play at any
8
time.
forwards.
And 8 forwards now. So
Yeah.
both of them put together. And the midfield, the only thing I want is Zubimendi to have a bit more rest. And for that, we need Odegaard to stop getting injured every 2 games. But those are all freak accidents. And we actually did see a clip of him celebrating with the Norway team. He was obviously not jumping around, he was seated. But the fact that he traveled with a knee brace or without shows that it's probably not that serious and we might see him very soon. And also, even the physio scout on Twitter mentioned that it's very unlikely that it could be an MCL from the initial report and the video clips that we saw. And the fact that it is an MCL was a shock. So I'm pretty sure it's a grade 1 or 2 at max, which is 1 to 3 or 1 to 4 weeks. 1 to 3 or 1 to 6 weeks. But it's looking like it's around the 3-week mark because we don't really get anything from Arsenal because they usually keep it very hush-hush. So hoping for the best. And as we spoke about the squad right now, you mentioned something before we started recording about the betting market in the UK. Would you like to explain what you gathered?
I mean, before we get on to that aspect, I think to contextualize how the betting market sees the Premier League at the moment, it's a good representation of how well placed Arsenal are for this season. For example, if you look at the overall predictions for the season, Arsenal are predicted to finish at the top of the league. So basically, we are predicted to win the title, right? So we have been given a 44% chance of winning the title, as opposed to Liverpool, who have been given a 30% chance of winning the title. So that is a 14% gap right there. City have been given a 14% chance of winning the title. And even from just the Premier League perspective, I mean, Premier League teams' perspective, the chances for the UCL, Champions League, we have been given a 90.37% chance of winning the Champions League. And Liverpool have been given 85.8% chance of winning the Champions League.
And I just want to remind everyone that if you're enjoying our content, please leave a like and subscribe. It will help us more than you can imagine.
All this is not to say these things will definitely happen, because these are predictions. But these predictions are not just, out of nowhere. They are based on the current performance of the team, the underlying metrics, the squad depth, which is quite really why Arsenal are in such a strong position. Like you mentioned, we have so many more players to come in from the treatment table. So looking at it from a very holistic perspective, we are in a good position right now. I think we are placed well for both the trophies, and that has translated well onto how the betting market experts are looking at it. So for the first time in a long time, the betting market favors Arsenal to win the title. And again, to say that that will not happen, that is not saying that this will definitely happen, but it is again a good way of looking how the external environment sees Arsenal. And the way they see Arsenal are not just on vibes or goals per se, or how the things that are very momentary, like how we are affected when we watch matches. If a misplaced pass, or taking some time to score a goal, or the lineup, these are things that we let really affect us. But that's not how the analysts see, be it the stats keepers or the betting market. They look at it from a very different lens. They look at the entire picture, and they look at the underlying metrics a lot. So I mean, in extension of that argument, if I just bring your attention to how we are looked at from individual metrics point of view, from a attacking point of view, right? Arsenal are third when it comes to XG. Now, if you compare it to last season, we were not even in the top half, because for obvious reasons, which being the injuries. But United are at the top of the table. They have a 14.06 XG for them. I mean, going forward with their investments in the forward areas, I think that translates well onto how the XG has performed in respect of United. Crystal Palace is second with 12.94. And Crystal Palace, we have seen, are in a good run of form, and the way they play the 3-4-3 system, hitting them on the counter, hitting the teams on a counter, have served them well. Arsenal are third with 12.21, but what we shouldn't forget is that Arsenal have had an insanely difficult start to the season. So maintaining a 12.21 XG in the first 7 games should be a very positive sign, as opposed to Liverpool, who have invested, I would say, the most in the forward areas, have 11.06. Arsenal, I would say, so far are better than last season, and that is quite clear because of the additions we have made in the form of Gyökeres or Madueke or Eze, things like that. Even with Havertz injured, even with Jesus injured. But the strongest indicator of a very sustainable title push is the fact that we are so solid defensively, right? So Arsenal have the lowest XGA, the XG against, which is at 4.39 in 7 games, which is crazy. I mean, there is no exaggeration here. 4.39 in 7 games with 3 goals conceded, 1 from open play. That's a crazy myth, in a league as tough as the Premier League. And that speaks so much to how well structured this team is. And a lot of credit goes to Arteta for that, right? How disciplined we are off the ball, out of possession, right? And to take it a little bit even further, when it comes to errors leading to shots, we have no errors leading shots. And if you can remember, last season, even the season before last, we had those errors lead. We lose possession, and even especially in the final third, and it has led to a goal, right? And when it comes to passing, right, Arsenal are averaging third in most possession. We have 58% possession, which is below Chelsea and Liverpool. Chelsea are second and Liverpool are first with 61 and 60. That can be put down to the fact that we have played very tough games in the first 7 games. United, Liverpool, City, where the position is more even-handed. For example, against West Ham, we had 74% possession with almost a quarter of a field tilt. So possession stats will obviously increase as it goes on. But Another very interesting thing is that we have come to associate Arsenal with a very slow build-up play, especially in the last season. And that is down to many reasons. The main reason being, obviously, we didn't have enough personnel on the pitch to really execute our style of play. But that still made us very slow and sometimes very predictable, right? So this season, we have improved, I would say, especially given in the context of the start to our season, right? So we have a direct speed of 1.76. Now, that is kind of mid-table, but again, in the context of how our first 7 games played out and against who we played those first 7 games, I would say that's a good starting position. And I would think that this would increase as the league progresses, right? And we have, again, the passes per sequence is 3.99. So less passes per sequence, that means the more fast the direct attack is, right? And the sequence time is still a little bit long. We have 11 seconds for the sequence, which is longer than Liverpool. Liverpool are 11.19. So if you take Liverpool's sequence time for last season they were extremely direct in their attacks. So Liverpool have slowed down, especially in relation to how Klopp played his teams. Not Slot, Klopp, right? So Liverpool have slowed down. They're more deliberate in their build-up. Arsenal have always been deliberate in their build-up, but with now Gyökeres in the team, I think this will get faster, right? It will be quicker and this stat will drop, I think. So, yeah.
Okay, wow, yeah. That was a lot of stats for all of you stats nerds, and don't worry, there'll be a couple of clips out with a few screenshots showing each stat that Lahiru brought up, and it was an absolutely phenomenal explanation, especially the detail that he went into. So, going a bit away from the stats, something that has been making the rounds on social media, stadium expansion. So, we've heard that Arsenal are planning to increase the capacity by about 10,000 more. So, we could be seeing just above 70,000 seats at the Emirates. And from what we've seen before, whenever reports like this come out, it's definitely 3 to 4 years in advance. And we also saw a report that Arsenal had rejected the opportunity to host any Euro games in 2028. So that shows that they're either not going to start till 2028 or it will definitely not be completed by 2028. Personally, I'm very happy about it for 2 reasons. The first one, because the last time we had a fantastic team, we moved from Highbury to the Emirates, and that was the last time we ever won a league. So finances play a big role. And we know that even though our owners are very rich, KSE, they are looking towards a sustainable model. So it seems like they've given us enough to make a complete squad, and now they're looking into expanding the Emirates, and it is coming up towards 20 years of moving to the Emirates. And we've seen a lot of teams already do their stadium renovations and expansions, such as Barcelona, Tottenham Hotspur, and who else? Was it
Real Madrid.
Newcastle? Real Madrid, and Newcastle as well, right? When the Saudis took over.
I don't know. I'm not sure. But West Ham.
West Ham, definitely. Yeah. So you could say that Arsenal is a bit behind, even though back then we were ahead. Because even right now, if you look at Stamford Bridge, it's still around the 45,000 mark, which is pretty poor for a top 6 team. And in terms of revenue generated, like however much the Spurs Stadium looks like a toilet bowl, they have NFL games, they have Beyonce, they have insane artists come and perform there. So, at the end of the day, they are making a lot of money, which can be used for transfers and other sorts of investments into the club. And recently, there was a bit of a shuffle in the hierarchy at Arsenal. They've brought in 2 people, one who's famously known for real estate and another person who's known for his work in the media and broadcasting rights and such. So for me, I'm okay with us moving to Wembley for the time being, because Arteta has a very good record at Wembley, and 90,000 Arsenal fans would be incredible. I mean, obviously not 90,000 because there'll be a few away fans as well, but around 80,000 at least. So it's gonna be booming. Even though right now we are facing a bit of stick for our atmosphere and the crowds, I'm pretty sure that, when the games come in thick and fast, this will definitely improve. So yeah, Lahiru, what are your thoughts on those couple of points?
Yeah. So, I mean, I'm all in for this stadium expansion plans, but I wish, I really hope we win a couple of major trophies before that, because these kind of things tend to have like a domino effect, especially when it comes to investments in the team. And KC are not the kind of ownership to just, to be giving never-ending funds for our development and for our kind of sustenance. So we have to make sure we win with this team. This team has a cycle, and we are very much in the middle of that cycle. The contracts are being renewed, the players are in their prime or getting their prime, so we need to win fast major trophies before the cycle ends. Like with any team, a team has, like I said, a cycle, and when that team ends in that cycle, there's always a rebuild phase. City are going through the rebuild phase right now, because De Bruyne, Gundogan, and all of these, Bernardo Silva is coming to the end of his prime as well. So these things have to be done in light of all of those considerations as well, right? So, I mean, this will generate more revenue. This will bring in more fans. It'll give more opportunities for a higher attendance, which is which should be really good, right? I mean, Arsenal are a popular club, one of the most viewed clubs, especially towards the back end of the season when things are really heating up. So it should be good as long as we make sure we have some trophies in our locker before all of these things start. And because we have seen this, before, no? Like we have seen how after the Invincibles, players started moving away. Wenger was left with his, famous Project Youth. And even though we played very scintillating football, we didn't win anything because we didn't have the financial power to really compete with the likes of Chelsea, City, and even United, right? And our players kept getting purchased by the top clubs. We were in that very unfortunate state of being a feeder club. We are not anymore. We are a top club now. We are a club that players refuse Real Madrid to come and join. I remember a time when the exact opposite used to happen, right? So it's encouraging, and it can be done, and it should be done, but as long as we make sure we have kind of a return on the pitch.
Yeah, exactly. And just as you said, Real Madrid, I remember this clip I saw yesterday on Twitter where the Real Madrid team were watching Arsenal versus Newcastle, and it was obviously a secret video that was filmed, and you could see like players like Valverde and a couple of more midfielders and attackers were properly locked in and watching the game. So I'm pretty sure it's not just because they lost 5-1 last year, but it's more or less that the way we are playing, the defensive solidity and how the attack is starting to flow, they are taking note. Like they are giving a bit more respect to Arsenal. And even though in the league, we are looked at this nearly team and get so much disrespect from other fans, and somewhat rightly so, we've actually gotten more points in the last 3 seasons than Man City and Liverpool. And they've had 3 league titles and we've had nothing, not even a domestic cup. So it's definitely to do with timing, like timing of injuries and the times that we peaked. The final 18 games of a Premier League season, 16 wins, 1 draw, 1 loss, was not enough to win a league, whereas the season before that and the season after that would have given us the title. So there's a lot of things like that which come into play. But also in terms of clubs acquiring more revenue, we heard some chat about Premier League games being played abroad, like a couple of games a season, as you mentioned before that Serie A and La Liga have started doing that. As an international fan who hasn't gone to a game yet, who hasn't had the opportunity yet, it doesn't make much of a difference to me where Arsenal play as long as I get to watch it. But you, as a match-going fan in the UK, what are your thoughts about it?
Once. Yeah, but that was a pretty sick experience. Anyway, yeah. So, anyways, I'm like, I'm just like any other, I guess, international fan living in the UK, because we don't live in London and all of that. I mean, the thing is this, right? I've listened to people who have very prominent voices in the Arsenal community voice their concerns about this. But I mean, it is concerning from a North London Arsenal fan perspective, obviously. But from an international fan perspective, I mean, I don't expect Arsenal to come to Sri Lanka and play. So we don't expect that, right? That'll never happen, right? And mostly what will happen is they'll go to US or Australia or somewhere in Japan or
Japan,
somewhere else.
hopefully.
So that will benefit you. Well, because they'll go to the big markets, and the ownership will not do this because they really care about this fan perspective. It's a commercial, activity. It's going to bring in more revenue. And to all those people who I think are rightly concerned from their perspective, what I would say is this. Arsenal are a global club, right? We have so many international players playing in England, right? Yes, it is an English club, but this is what I would say the effect of foreign ownership, and especially, uh, you know, like a byproduct of of a bigger picture like capitalism, I guess, because the moment foreign ownership gets involved, the moment foreign players get involved, your game is no longer just confined to one part of a town or a city. It becomes a global brand. So, for example, if you look at the three main sources of revenue for Arsenal, one is the matchday revenue, one is commercial relationships, commercial contracts, branding, and all of that. And the other one is the broadcasting rights. So, it's not just been broadcast in the UK, it's been broadcast through various channels all over the globe. I came across this article where they have done some survey in 2005. There's 112 million fans of Arsenal around the world, right? In 2005, right? I don't know how accurate these things are, but if you take it at that face value, it would have obviously grown in the last 20 years, right? So the viewership around the world is so much more than it used to be. And that's because of TV. That's because of foreign players. Foreign players make the club more attractive, appealing to other countries, and we get invested in it, right? I mean, just imagine if we had a Sri Lankan player in playing in the Premier League, we'd be really invested in that guy's development, right? And that guy's career. So just like that. So I think saying that North London North London is the home of Arsenal, but saying that, this has to stay in Arsenal. I listened to so many people talk about it, but I didn't hear anyone give a logical reasoning for it. It's all just based on it doesn't sit well right with me. I don't like it, the sound of it. It's it's got historical roots in North London. It's to do with tradition. Those are not materialistic, logical reasons. So those are sentimental reasons. From a money perspective, it makes sense to take this to the global, stage. I mean, come on, what are we talking about? Like 2 games max a season? But this is the thing is this: what we are okay with ownership money. We are okay with funds as long as it buys us players. But those things come with a catch. They're not giving this us for free. They expect things back. They expect it to try to generate more money. And this is a way of generating more money. We can't be like KC for the win when we get 8 players and 250 million pounds spent in the summer and then be like, no, this is not right when they try to do other things, because they are obviously going to do other things. For them, this is a business. They might have Arsenal fans in charge of the club right now, but like if you look at the KSC, they own clubs in the National Football League, they own clubs in the NBA, and it's so many. So they have diversified through so many clubs, and this is just the way they operate. And we have to be okay with the good things and the bad things that come with capitalist-driven foreign ownership.
Yeah, fair enough. Because at the end of the day, they want us to be more sustainable. And let's be honest, if not for Havertz's injury, we wouldn't have had Eze. So, at the end, what, as you mentioned before, the betting companies had put us at the top, especially after the Eze signing, because Havertz wasn't going to be out for the season. So that shows that, the owners are ambitious, but, their heart is not in it like a fan. They just had 60 million pounds lying around and they did the deal within 4 hours. So it could have been done at any time, but there was a very, very high chance, almost a 99% chance that we were not going to buy Eze and he was going to go to Spurs. Things like this would help us increase the revenue that we earn each match day. And I heard on a different podcast, the Canon podcast to be exact, Johan Jivan explained that there was a report where it showed that per match day, each fan averages about £100 when you calculate the tickets, the food, the merch, and all of that. So if you increase that by 10,000, that's easily £1 million more per match day. And how many matches are there per week except for the international break? So things like that, I guess, are really important, especially for the way that the owners want Arsenal to be run. And at the end of the day, it's not ideal. Like we would love owners like Man City, where they just spend. And I mean, they have started selling too, but there's always a cushion. Like last year, Pep had so many injuries, 200 million spent in Jan. Like, at the end of the day, once the titles are won, those big windows are forgotten. What's remembered is what was done during the season, whatever depth or, whatever you did, unless obviously you have 115 charges and you get caught for those charges. Closing in on that, we would like to go into our fixture review as we do towards the end of every podcast. So even though we did do it in the previous podcast, I'm sure with the international break closing in, everyone would like to, refresh themselves. So starting off with Arsenal, they face Fulham on Saturday in Europe, and then midweek we face Atletico.
It's a next day, Damn it.
Yeah, it's Sunday 1:30 for me.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, 1:30 is a decent time because moving into midweek, Arsenal versus Atletico 4 a.m. So yeah, fantastic. And yeah, the following Saturday, Arsenal versus Palace would be a tough game, but we are at home, so I expect us to win. Eze with some hopeful uh, points to get us over the line. And 30th of October, Arsenal versus Brighton in the EFL Cup, also at home. Then we play Burnley and then Slavia Prague in the Champions League. So yeah, just to round off the Premier League fixtures, Fulham, Palace, Burnley, Sunderland.
Mm.
That's a good, how many points is that? 12. A good 12 points we should get. And
Yeah.
yeah, going into our title rivals who are a bit shaky right now, Liverpool. Their next 5 Premier League fixtures are Man United at Anfield. Amorim won the last game, so he's not going to win this one. Brentford, Aston Villa, and Man City. Man
And
City, Real Madrid in the middle. So yeah, just before Man City, they play Real Madrid. It's not looking good. So you gotta keep an eye out. And unfortunately, it seems like Haaland is dragging Man City into this title race. So, we had kind of written them off a little, with their losses to Spurs and was it who did they lose to? Brighton. Yeah. But they are just a couple of points behind us, and if we have a look at their fixtures, they play Everton at home, then they play Villa, then they play Bournemouth. I'm expecting a lot from Bournemouth, especially because it's away. But Bournemouth have been fantastic so far this season, so I'm expecting a lot. And then obviously after that, Liverpool. And yeah, going into the end of this podcast, do you have any final thoughts?
Yeah, so I mean, those 4 matches we are playing, they're like proper Barclays, no? Like those are matches we should be winning, but very tricky matches. Fulham away, we dropped points last season. Palace at home, we dropped points last season. Burnley, Sunderland, they're not pushovers. The newly promoted teams are not like the promoted teams last season and the season before. They are quite competitive. So I mean, we have to get 12 points. It's a must. I mean, if you are going to sustain this title charge, we have to, push for it. And maybe a draw against Atletico, I don't really mind. I think we'll finish in the top 8 for the Champions League. But if we can finish higher, I think it's better, because I think when the draw is made for the home matches, home legs in the knockouts, I think the second leg will be a home leg if we finish higher. I heard something like that. I'm not really sure. But I think Slavia Prague is somewhere there, so we should be winning that match. I think we should be fine, given the tough fixture list Liverpool and City have. But we should not underestimate them. Fulham, Crystal Palace, these are very tough games. Palace, home or away, they are tough under Glasner. And, they're very hard to break down. They have a good defensive system. Their counter-attack is crazy good, kind of like Bournemouth. And yeah, but hopefully we'll get it done.
Yeah, and hopefully Mikel rotates really well against the teams who we don't really need points, for example, like Slav Prague. So yeah, thank you everyone for listening. And as always, keep football in your thoughts.
Thanks for having me, man.